Hey friends, it is Chrissy Kirkman. Welcome back to the Old School Food Freedom Podcast, where we are about to kick it as old school as it gets with how God created us to live, and that is free. We're always saying free from shame, right? But why do I feel so much shame about my body still after all these years? And today, Angelica Gonzalez is back with me. She was here in season 1. She has been a featured guest on the Lasting Freedom course curriculum here at Finding Balance. And we, as in Finding Balance, go way back with Angelica. And you've done so much for Finding Balance, being on staff in the past and all kinds of things. Thank you for being my friend.
Traveling up and down the road again.
Yes, we have been geeking out on Golden Girls like right before we hit record. And it was just so much fun. So thanks for being here. I'm so glad you're here.
No, thank you. I always love the opportunity to be able to join you in all things that you do. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let me tell you a little bit about Angelica if you are not familiar. So she is a multilingual psychotherapist and founder of Eden Therapy Co., specializing in eating disorders, trauma, and self-injury. With over a decade of experience, she integrates CBT, DBT, psychodrama, and EMDR in her work with adolescents, adults, families, and groups. She began her career at Miami Children's Hospital, having worked in psychiatric and eating disorder inpatient settings. She taught at the University of Miami and has spoken nationally and internationally on trauma and recovery. Angelica hosts the podcast Eden's Table alongside her team, exploring the intersection of faith, psychology, and healing. We will have a link in the show notes to the podcast and all other ways you can connect with Angelica and her team. And so, friend, if you have ever felt trapped, like me, because I've been there, in a cycle of body checking, swimsuit season dread, or shame after eating, this is the conversation for you today. So we're going to be diving into body shame and talking about where that shame voice is actually coming from, how to sit with the discomfort of numbing, and what it looks like to move with compassion toward yourself the way Jesus does. So if this is not your first time listening, pretty much every episode I'm saying the same thing. It's like in the Bible, when the Lord repeats something, it's because it's super important. We need to pause and listen up, don't tune him out. He keeps saying it, check it. So what I'm going to say again is when you're hearing this, if you feel shame rising, the feeling of shame, oh, I'm so embarrassed or ashamed of that. I'm so bad. I'm horrible. How could I have done, all those thoughts. Remember, that is from the enemy. That is not the voice of God. Okay. He does not condemn us. He gently convicts us. So we're going to walk into this conversation with curiosity. If we feel that voice coming in or feel that shame rising, we're going to just pause and say, it's okay. Or I'm going to take a breath and just let it out. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm just going to keep listening and be curious about what it is that's coming up and maybe what God is trying to show us through it, right? So there's my soapbox that I've got to say every time. Okay, so you've been on the show before. It's been a long time.
Yes.
I thought we were going to go in a direction with a different question. We always kick off the show with a question about what old school item or experience do you miss from back in the day? But right before we hit record, something came up and it is solid gold. So let us in on what you miss from back in the day.
So I would say the JCPenney's photo shoots. And the reason why I say that is because there is a TikTok trend where you and your friends go to JCPenney's and you pick really awkward just poses, right? Because I think, Chrissy, you were saying why did people used to stare off? And that was considered a good pose. So you do this. So one of my friends, it was her birthday. And so we booked and we surprised her with a JCPenney's photo shoot. And you asked if they would mind if I shared. And I'm just going to go ahead and say they would not mind.
Yes.
Because they are hysterical. So this is one of my favorites.
Okay, so you're going to be listening and can't see this, but we are going to share these pictures probably in the show notes, maybe on our reels. And so I'm going to describe this. Can you hold that back up?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So there are 5 girls in the picture. They're all wearing denim jeans, white shoes, white shirts. And so it's very matchy like we used to back in the day. Okay. So, so this picture, we've got 2 girls standing, 2 girls sitting cross-legged, and then one has her hands folded on top of another girl, like with her chin resting on her head. It's so good. Okay, sorry. That's one.
And then there's the 2 that are standing, have their hands on the heads of 2 that are sitting cross-legged.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
And the faces are just really like straightforward and serious because for some reason, that's what we did back then. I don't know why, but it is what we did. And then the second picture that I would share is like a tower of all of us, just one stacked on top of each other.
I mean, these are hysterical.
I highly recommend doing this because not only do you laugh so much, but honestly, we could not stop laughing because you're trying to maintain a still face when you're really just laughing. And the last one I'm going to show you, it was my friend Rachel's birthday. So she is lying across, but we are all holding her together.
It's so fabulous. It's so good.
So I would say go to JCPenney's with your friends. Not that this is an advertisement, but if you're looking for a good time, just go.
Oh, it's so good. My friends and I did that way back in the day. And it's so different than glamour shots, right? Glamour shots was like next level.
Oh my gosh, we got to bring back the glamour shots too.
Immediately.
What are we talking about? Where did all those pink boas go?
Right. And they were staring off into space. Oh my gosh. It's just so different now. Yeah, that is super fun. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to put those in the show notes because I think everyone needs to see and get that good belly laugh.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, and it didn't look like anyone was dealing with body shame in those. I think everybody was like checked out of like loathing.
We're just having a good time.
Yeah, right. And that's fun. And what a great memory. What a great experience with your friends, not putting yourself down, self-loathing.
I mean, the only thing I can tell you is that we were laughing so hard that due to age, we may have, peed in our pants. But other than that.
So what I'm hearing is wear tennis and Depends when you go, just in case. You just never know.
Depending on your age bracket.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and I would say most of my friends here are in my age bracket, so it's all good. Yeah, we got to look out for each other. Well, on that note, shame, right? No shame if that's where we are. So let's just talk about, I know we've had episodes about shame in the past, but if this is someone's first time listening, and hopefully they didn't get thrown off by the pee in our pants things, but let's talk about this. What is shame? Let's just try to understand shame first to set that foundation. What is shame and how is it different from guilt?
Okay, so I love Brené Brown because she's done extensive research on shame. And one of the things that she says is that shame says, I am bad, and guilt says, I did something bad. So guilt is more of a behavior versus shame being something that's more about who you are and your identity. So it basically says hey, there's something wrong with you. You should have this feeling. And what happens clinically is that shame starts dysregulating your entire nervous system and your emotions start going all over the place. So it activates fight, flight, freeze, or pain sensations. So we react with a threat response. And that's why it becomes so overwhelming. If we think about it, shame targets our worthiness, our belongingness, our lovability, our visibility, our deservingness. It affects our relationship with our perception of what others see. Mm-hmm. And shame is really relational at its core.
Shame is relational at its core. Mm-hmm. Can you give us just a little more? What does that mean? Shame is relational at its core.
Well, if you think about how we were created to live in relationship. And so if I feel shame, what are some of the behaviors I might start exhibiting, right? What are they? If you walk in and somebody's like feeling shame, what do you notice?
Maybe they're not making eye contact. Maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to hide themselves. Like if they're sitting on a sofa, if it's a body shame, they might try to hide under a blanket or a pillow, kind of feeling
Right.
disconnected.
Very disconnected. And so if we think of even attachment, like our attachment is severed from other people because this one emotion, shame, this one idea is starting to separate us from belongingness or feeling together. So that's why shame in a lot of ways is relational. I mean, if we're going to be talking about bodies, like if you think about when you feel shame of your body, again, you're disconnecting from your body. You're seeing it as an object. You're not seeing it as something that was created wonderfully and beautifully, right? You're seeing it as an object that I have to disconnect from.
So true. Okay, that's super relatable. Yes, thank you. So like this voice of shame,
Mm-hmm.
who is it coming from? Like I just want to say, well, of course it's the enemy,
Yes.
but how would you answer that question? I don't want to assume anything.
Like I always go back to the garden and I think of like how the enemy was like so just sneaky and it just kind of like slides in there. And so of course it's the enemy and who he and what he uses to instill the voice of shame. So if we think of our early caregivers and we think of, did they make you feel shame about your body? Did they make you feel shame about your body in front of other people? Culturally, if we think about it, what are the messages in culture? Like there's such a bias towards being thin. And sometimes that comes into our shame, like, well, I'm not really like that. Or trauma. If we've had trauma in our background, a lot of times it informs us about our body. Or like even comparison with like other people, that also starts informing us about our body.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So I can say that the shame voice is not the Lord's voice. We know that. Not at
No.
all. And you even said when we were working through this content, it's probably not even your voice, like my own voice. And sometimes I think we hear in the world your inner voice. So if I truly believe that my body is bad and where my body stores more fat than other places is terrible because no one wants this or that, right? I might believe that that's my voice. I'm saying that because I believe that it's true. But is that in that
Mhm.
situation, is that still considered my voice?
I don't think so. I think that voice is informed by other voices. And it's not your voice. And so sometimes we just have to discern what is our voice and how do we truly feel about our bodies versus what is the enemy's voice or the voice of culture or the voice of people who we gave space to in our lives that maybe we have to kick them out of our lives in our minds. Maybe we can't physically, but in our minds we can. And this is why I love Jesus, like turning to him and turning to, okay, well, what does my Father in heaven say about my body? Does he say that I should have shame about my body? It's really interesting because we were talking about it also. And you said it's been mentioned in the past, but Adam and Eve, they were totally like, woo, living their life with their body, like super happy, right? And then all of the sudden, the snake comes in. And the first thing that happens is that God is like, who told you that you were naked? And there's the first instance we start to see like this shame is really coming from the enemy. It's not coming from God because God made us beautifully, wonderfully. He knit us perfectly together in our mother's wombs. That is the truth of who we are and how we were made.
So we have believed a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And so we might be deceived into thinking that's our own voice. But if we were to strip it all back, if diet culture wasn't a thing, if sin wasn't a thing, we would not be hating our bodies. We would not be hating parts of our bodies. We would not be hating ourselves. We would be free. We would be walking with Jesus in pure Eden in a situation where the truth reigns. And I mean, Jesus reigns, but his truth
Sure.
is part of who we are. I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's really not what I want to say.
But you are. His truth is embedded in the fiber of who we are. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times, the reason why we turn towards our body is because our body is the most visible piece of our personality and of our identity. when you meet somebody, you don't necessarily see their heart, right? Like maybe you do spiritually, but the first thing that you see is the outside. You see their weight, you see their shape, you see their skin, you see if they're attractive to you or not. And I say to you or not because we all find different things beautiful, which is why trying to perfect your body to fit one mold, that mold might not be what other people find attractive. It's really interesting, right? We see skin color, we see hair, and those are symbols that start symbolizing if you belong or you don't belong. And that's where shame comes in to tell you, you don't belong, like you're not X, Y, or Z. And it's all lies. It's all just lies from the enemy. It all has
Bring
been
a
a pack of
drum
lies,
solo in
Chris.
here right now. I'm so sick of the lies. It just breaks my heart. Like, as I'm hearing you, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm very aware in that moment of how it's just instantaneous, how fast, how quickly we're looking at others and we're immediately making decisions about how we feel or who they are or what they're like, or, just even
Right.
facial expressions and body language. Like, we are checking it so quickly, which, I mean, in some cases could be a good thing. It could be a warning to us, like, this person, I don't feel safe. Like, I'm
Not
seeing
safe.
that they're not safe. So it's not that it's bad. We just have to be aware and gentle. And it just takes practice, right?
Well, a lot of times what shame does is that, again, going with the disconnection, like one of the things that in psychodrama, which is a group therapy tool, we talk about is like every time we walk into a group, we look at how are we different from other people. And that's survival. So I understand it. You do want to be discerning if there's somebody that's not safe, like maybe don't stand next to them. But in the same token, what would happen if we step into a social situation and think, what do I have in common with everybody? As opposed to, how am I different? Instead of, like any negative body image perception that you may have. And because of comparison, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth, like social media, a lot of times we're just constantly comparing. Comparison, comparison, comparison. And comparison is the thief of joy. And it also doesn't really help. I have this tool that I like to do in therapy, which is a genogram is like basically your family tree. And I like to do a body image family tree so that people become aware of what were the bodies in your family like, not from an objectification point of view, but from a genetic point of view. I've said this before and I will say it again. And I've probably said it on everything we've done. But my mom had a really big butt. I'm going to have a big butt. There's nothing that I can do to change it. I'm Hispanic. I have big hips. Like, that's just who I am. Shakira made it cool. Hips don't lie, shake them. But, but it's the truth. It's finding like that piece of understanding through a family tree. Your body is really partly genetic. And that's just how you got it. Like, I'm never going to be blonde, Chrissy. Like,
I
there's
mean, you
not one
could
blonde
be,
person. No,
but not
I don't think
naturally.
I would look good, honestly.
I'm just saying it's possible, but
It is possible. But there's no blonde person in my family tree,
true.
like, I'm not going to have blue eyes. Like in my family tree, there's nobody with blue eyes. So those are things that we have to look at and be able to be like, okay, but God made me this way for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, I'm this way for a reason.
Yeah. So with shame, like, what are some ways that it shows up in the body? And then it can start to lead to body checking, which you may want to
Mhm.
just explain what is body checking and how does that connect?
So when we feel shame, we want to get out of it because a lot of us are not comfortable in sitting with our feelings, which I have to say, sitting with your feelings is a good thing. It actually leads you towards what is really underneath all of your feelings, right? But because we don't want to sit with uncomfortable feelings, we feel like we have to do something about it. And that's where perfectionism, body checking, comparison, all of these things that we do to try to make it better, diet culture, all of that comes in to start to make you feel like you're doing something about it, even though you're not really doing anything about it, but you really are thinking that this is going to help you. These are shame's friends. They're like, oh, you're feeling that? I don't want you to feel that. So here's a little bit of perfectionism. Like, be really, really high achieving so people can really focus on that and they don't have to focus on your body.
Ooh, can you stop shouting at me, please? It's too much. Because I think I've just been called out. Louder for the person right in front of the microphone. Okay, next. No,
I mean, I think another one is I'm going to be so, so nice and I'm going to just be the sweetest person and I'm just going to do so much for other people so that that becomes my identity and my body doesn't become my identity, right? But we are mind, body, spirit, soul. We're all one. And these things that we do, these impossible ideals that we set for ourselves just make us tired and cranky and hungry.
Yeah.
You know?
I do know. I know it all too well.
Yeah, I'm with you, girl. There's nothing like lived experience.
Okay, we got plenty of it right here. And the pause and the silence is me going, remember, if you feel shame rising, it's not the Lord's voice. I'm like telling myself the things that I'm telling all of you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And being funny is another way to kind of mask it up. And then how does this connect to like, okay, so you're in Miami. Mm-hmm. It's probably always swimsuit season. But here in the Midwest, you know, we have all 4 seasons and these cultural triggers start. So now we're in swimsuit season. To me, it feels like one of the most body shame filled times of the season because now, you know, you can wear a lot of clothes, but you're really going to suffer, especially in perimenopause. You're already sweating. You can only take off so many layers before it could be illegal, right? So, like, mm-hmm. So why is swimsuit season such a shame-filled time for us?
Well, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't really walk around in my swimsuit day to day. So I think... So
then you're not living.
Right. Exactly. Like just casually stroll around your house in your swimsuit, which you can.
You can
honestly.
do that.
You can do that.
Maybe that's the place you start. But anyway.
Right. And it could be. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that we usually wear clothes that's more covering than a bathing suit. And so when we think about removing more layers of clothes, like it becomes more vulnerability. There's more of you that is showing to the outside world. And so we can't hide in those layers. And so all of the sudden, comparison, visibility, vulnerability, all of that starts coming up for us. I don't know if you remember the first time you were invited to like a pool party and you had to wear a bathing suit in front of all your friends.
Like, I'll just say I remember some high school pool parties that it wasn't really the first time, but it was the first time in high school where there were like boys and girls and my body's now different. Yes, I can instantly think of that.
You see, because to me, that becomes like the core memory of like now when we put on a bathing suit, like that little part of us is activated also. That's like, ooh, there's people, they're going to be judging, they're going to be caring. But you know what I've found, Chrissy, is that most people have that inside of their own heads and they're not really worried about your body. They're worried about their own, which really isn't a great thing, but it is a tool for us to think of because why can't we just wear a bathing suit and go swimming? I mean, swimming is amazing and it's one of the best forms of movement and we're weightless there. So I've had back surgery. So to me, swimming is like everything, you know, because you are weightless within the pool and it's not because of weight, but just the ability to move is different and it's fun and you can splash or slip and slides. Oh my God, those are so much fun.
Old school. Oh my gosh. I have so many slip and slide scenarios from the past. Yes.
Right. But like, why can't we like recover that joy of like, this is what summer is. It's not about what culture does. I'm getting my summer body ready. I'm like, well, you already have a body. How different is it in the summer?
Right.
Like,
yes.
Can we just have fun in our bodies in summer? Like, or like before and after pictures, you know, my whatever, you know, and it's like, no, just have fun in your body. Like, enjoy it. If you have kids, like, how much fun is it to swim with your kids? Or I remember when my nieces were little, like we used to play My Little Mermaid and like I used to like pick them up and go, oh, and then like throw them and they'd be like, again, like those are the things I remember. I don't remember the color of bathing suit they were wearing. I don't remember what the sarong was. I don't even remember what color bathing suit I was wearing. If it was a one piece, a bikini, a tankini, like I have no idea. It was an ini of sorts, but I have no idea which kind. But at the end of the day, like we come with like all of this shame around this one article of clothing, which is a bathing suit. And the truth is that we are even going to remember that article of clothing. What we're going to remember is once the shame has been able to quiet down and that lie has kind of like gone out, you're going to remember the fun that you had within that moment. It's really not about your body. It's about the joy that you have when you're doing whatever you're doing that's water-based sport. Whether you're like water skiing or paddleboarding is so much fun. And it's hard. So like I can paddleboard for a little bit, but then I'm like, okay, we're done. Like, oh my gosh. And for my 50th birthday, we were blessed to be able to go to Hawaii, and I tried surfing for the first time. Guys, not for the weak-hearted, let me tell you. But the surfing teacher was like, we're going to get auntie up on the board, because I was with my nieces. And I did it for 1 second. Like that's all I did. 1 second, I stood up. But you know what? For me, that was a win. Guess what? I don't know what bathing suit I was wearing that day.
What? You don't remember?
Mm-mm.
But you had the experience and the core memory, like that memory of that experience. You can think back to it, being with your nieces and those memories they're going to remember. They're probably not going to remember what you were wearing, what your body size was. They'll grow up and remember, oh, that fun time our aunt went surfing with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really what it's all about. Like, don't let a piece of clothing get in the way of you thinking that you can't have fun or you can't be a part of something. Because again, that's all lies.
And when we allow, I'm going to say allow, when we agree with the enemy, like we're making agreements, right? When we agree with the enemy that our body is bad, it shouldn't be seen, we should hide as much as possible, people on the beach aren't going to want to see us, and it's very like kind of self-focused. But when we agree with that, then we are allowing him to rob us of these experiences and this precious time with our family and friends that is here right now. Like it's here right now, or your vacation's coming up and it's going to happen in 2 weeks. How are you going to make the most of it? And these moments are fleeting, like no next breath is promised, right? So it's like when I can put it into that, frame it in that way, like the reality of what's happening, I don't want the enemy stealing anything from me. He's taken enough from me through the years, and I have a say. I can say, absolutely not. I'm going to try to show up, and maybe I want to wear a tank top over my swimsuit at first because that's what feels the most comfortable and safe for me right away. And then I can take it just with grace and gentleness for myself, but really try to like focus on this is the moment in front of me right now. These people I'm with, I love, and I want to embrace this moment for what it is and make these memories.
Or even if you're by yourself too, like we're always with Jesus. So ask Jesus to go to the beach with you. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true, right? Since I do live in Miami, sometimes I go to the beach by myself and I just sit there, and it's beautiful. Like it's a time of reset, of rest, and it's okay. Like nobody's coming up to me and telling me to get off the beach because they don't like what I'm wearing or they don't like my body. Like, as a matter of fact, as you look out like on a beach or at a pool, like you see all different types, forms, shapes, and sizes of bodies. And I always think of how beautiful God's creation is, that there are so many different types of bodies,
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really lovely if we can tune back into the right voice and the actual voice of truth.
Yes.
And reject diet culture lies that all stem from the enemy. Yeah.
He is the father of lies, and his job is to steal, kill, and destroy. So don't let him destroy your time with people or your time resetting. Like he doesn't get that.
Right. And like, I'm not going to say why is it. It's really so easy for us to forget that we have Christ-centered agency. We have a voice. We can say no to the enemy. I don't consent to that, devil. Like, I'm not consenting to this pack of lies anymore. I'm not going to agree with you anymore that my body is shameful and terrible. My body right now enables me to walk down to the beach and sit on the beach and get, maybe up to my knees in the water if I'm too afraid. And I love, one of my favorite things, my son and I, we go out and we just jump waves for,
So much
I'm
fun.
talking about hours. And when we get a big wave come in, it's so like fun, and we just jump into it, and it just lifts us up weightless. Like you're talking about weightless, it lifts us up, and we float down, and we are giggling. Like, I mean, it sounds so ridiculous, but he's 29 and I'm not, and it's fun. And we just stand out there waiting for the next wave, having good conversation. And I mean, he's my guy. Like, we'll do that for hours, and it's the best time.
It is. It truly is.
And my body enables me to do that. And, I try to pause and think, I don't know what could happen. Like, there's so many things that could happen in life that would prevent me from even being able to walk on the beach. So I don't want to hate this body that I have right now that enables me to do that. It's just trying to like come in with so much love and grace and compassion for yourself, for the lies you have believed. And it's almost a repentance of, I want to turn away from the thing that is not okay, that has not been good for me, turn to Jesus, who can lead me into what is good for me and my relationship with him, and reject the lies of the enemy. If you've been wondering if your struggles with food are normal, or if you need help, but you're just not sure where to start, we have created a brand new free eating issues check-in just for you. So this is a confidential tool that helps you understand your relationship with food and eating. And when you're done, you'll get instant, personalized results showing where you are now and what kind of support might help you. Plus, we're going to connect you with Christ-centered resources matched to your specific needs. So this just takes about 10 minutes, and it could be the brave first step toward the freedom you're seeking. So if you are ready to find out where you stand, take the Eating Issues Check-in at FINDINGbalance.com.
I mean, more and more as I continue to study the Bible and I continue to study God's healings, I always see how Jesus moved with compassion. And to me, it's always interesting of like, okay, well, if Jesus moved with compassion, and it says it over and over in the Gospels, why can't we move with compassion if we're supposed to be more like him? So what would moving with compassion look like as we approach swimsuit season, as we approach our bodies? Like, how can we move with compassion? And you were also talking about functionality. And I want to say, like, I had back surgery, and I got to back surgery because I couldn't walk. And so when you said that you really enjoy the walking on the beach and I can do this now, it's absolutely true. Like I think that was one of the things that I know. It's one of the things that really hit me the most was seeing my sister cry when I did a cartwheel after I had surgery. I mean, it was a long time after, like it was not right after surgery. But my sister was crying because she never thought she would see me do something like that again, And so when we look at that, like, yeah, I mean, enjoy your body for what it is and where it is today, as a part of who you are that is beautiful, not as a part of who you are that you need to be shameful about.
Yeah. And I love how you said Jesus moved with compassion. So what does it look like to replace control with self-compassion?
So it's just knowing that our bodies are not perfect. They weren't meant to be. And I also have like another tool that I use, which is when I shower. You guys are getting to know me really well today. After I shower, I moisturize. When I was working on my body image, one of the things I would do is I would moisturize is if I was moisturizing my arms, I'd say, like, thank you, God, for my arms because they can hug people. Thank you, God, for my fingers and my hands because they're holding on to things. Thank you for my thighs because they hold up my hips. Thank you for my legs. And if you just start practicing like body gratitude, and for me, it was really easy as I moisturized to be able to because you're touching it also. And so there's something about the connection of that as well that really helps. And so being able to be compassionate or with your own body, or like knowing that it's a journey, even in eating disorder work, body image is one of the last things that we work on. And the reason why it's one of the last things is because it's one of the hardest. But realizing little by little, having compassion for your body may look like what you said, starting by wearing your bathing suit around your house and then going outside for 5 minutes and seeing what comes up for you, like successive approximations, which is we approximate the goal, but we do little things, little steps along the way. Maybe it's wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, but putting your feet in the water at the beach, or at the pool. Like maybe that's your beginning, but finding your beginning and approaching it with the love that you would show a little kid or a little baby.
Yeah.
When we were talking about this, I told you about how impacted I was at a Hungry for Hope conference one summer, that there was a speaker that was talking about body image, and she flashed a picture of herself as a baby. And she had the cutest little chunky thighs with like little dimples on them. And they're the best. Like you just want to
gnaw on it.
I know. They're like so yummy. And she said, what feelings come up for you, right? And these are the feelings that were coming up for me. And she said, well, then why don't we look at our bodies with that same compassion as we grow older? Like, because when we grow older, the dimples come back. But I like to see them as dimples. They're smiling at you. They're like, hi.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why can't we look at our bodies with the same love that we look at newborn babies? That to me would be like a goal, how to get there.
Oh, it's so sweet. And I feel compassion coming in, just even for myself, but for anyone who has that feeling. You see a baby and you're like, yeah. And then even just as you were describing it, but then the dimples come back and we don't like them. And it feels like regressing. And immediately I was like, oh, like my body was once that. It's changing. It's still the same body, just grown up and aged. And I want to have respect for my body and show compassion and love to my body. Yeah. Oh, this is so deep.
It's beautiful, honestly.
Yeah.
I also think that healing your body image is really finding those safe relationships where you can get connected and you can look into their eyes and they can look into your eyes and tell you, you're beautiful just as you are. Or even the exposure that we've been talking about, or starting to be like, okay, and ideate, like, what would it be like for me to feel safe in my body? And starting to understand, where did this shame come from?
Right.
Who taught it to me? What did it protect me from? Because sometimes shame can be protection too, because it's so separating.
Yeah. We talked about how God renews our mindset. So what would you want to say? Because we don't want to just try to do this all alone and white knuckle it. Like old school food freedom is all about Jesus. It's about Jesus and how we can turn to him. He's waiting to help us. So what does it look like for God to renew our mindset?
So I'm going to share a tool if that's okay. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. So this week in my presence group, because I'm in a ministry school, the leader told us to write a letter to a couple that was really struggling. And if you were a female, to write the letter to the girl that was struggling. And if you were a guy, to write the letter to the guy that was struggling within this relationship. So we write these letters and then she says, well, they're actually for you, right? To encourage you. So what I would say is, what would you write to somebody, keeping Jesus in mind, keeping his thoughts? If it were somebody else that was struggling with body image, if it was somebody else that was really struggling with putting on a bathing suit this summer, how would you encourage that person? So I would say partner with Jesus, which is an inner healing tool, and be like, okay, Holy Spirit, just come and help me write this, right? Maybe put on some worship music, pull out a journal, and write the letter to this other person. When you're done, read it, because chances are it's exactly what you are needing in that moment.
Oh, that is so good. I pray that everyone will carve time to pause and do that. I think that I need to do that. I want to do that. I'm going to do that.
It was really powerful. I mean, I gave you guys the thunder at the end because this isn't a workshop, right? But honestly, it was really, really neat. And it impacted a lot of the other people in the group who were able to share what was coming up for them in this season of their life. So it's good.
So good. So when someone feels triggered
Mhm.
What are some ways that they can lean in with curiosity? What would that look like?
So I love the pause, the stop, and just slow down. Ask yourself, what is the trigger that I'm feeling right now? And where in my body is that trigger? Like, where am I feeling it in my body? And as you breathe and you lean into that feeling. So we want to get rid of the feeling, but I'm saying let's act opposite and let's lean into the feeling and see what's underneath that. Because if you think about it, when we were talking about Galatians, and we were talking about the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians. It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Oh, that's how I learned them.
Oh, I have a different one. It's super fun. How fun is that?
What's yours?
Oh, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, to woohoo, gentleness, and self-control. Hey, we got spirit. How about you?
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yours is more of a cheer.
Yes! It is. Hey, but we both remembered them, whatever the means.
Exactly. So what we have to do is say, okay, what in my life is not causing the fruit of the Spirit to come out? And where did that start? And then the next step would be like, okay, what would it be like for me to feel these things in my body, to have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control? And how can I apply these fruit to my relationship with my body?
Yeah. So good. I'm just loving this. I feel like this conversation feels really supportive. And I really pray, friend, that you hear this and you're like, okay, I feel like maybe this summer could be different. And here's what I do. Every year I buy one of those rectangular inflatable pools that has like maybe 3 rings of and you can kind of submerge. It's really fun. And I blow it up and I put it in the backyard on the patio for as long as I can stand it. But I will bring some music out there and make some lemonade, and just by myself, I will just float around in that thing and just listen to music and enjoy the early summer weather and be in my swimsuit. And that's sort of how I go from springtime and, all the months of hiding myself under big clothes that are oversized and kind of weaning myself back into less clothing. And if I can get more comfortable, it's sort of like wearing your swimsuit around the house, but like if I can get more comfortable in my own backyard, then it feels less scary later and it feels a little more normal. So I don't know if that helps anyone, but let's wrap this one up where, Angelica, can you tell us, like, what would you say to someone who feels like they're just drowning in body shame right now?
I would say you are not your body. You're not your worst thought. You're not even your last meal. And Jesus loves you. And last but not least, shame tells you to hide. And I'm going to ask you to be courageous this summer. When you and I were talking, I say a lot of times to my eating disorder clients, like, I'm asking you to be a warrior. And I really see my clients as that. They're warriors because society says so many things. And we're asking you to be different. But what I love is that it's a warrior in God's army because you're armed with the truth. And we have to tell people the truth, like the truth about who God made you to be, not the lies that the enemy wants to tell you to have you separate or not be apart. So stop fighting with your body and fight the enemy instead.
Yes. And remember, you have a say, Christ-centered agency. You don't have to agree with the enemy. You can speak up for your life. Yes. Be a warrior. Remember, there's this song from like early Vacation Bible School days where it's like, I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir. You remember that? That's what I was thinking. Super duper old school. But hey,
I
what
love
else?
it though.
Right?
Let's go.
Yeah, right. Let's go. Oh, this was so good. Thank you so much for being back. And friends, I have linked some related episodes about shame in the show notes below. So I think I've got like 5 or 6 different episodes. If shame is a topic that is really hitting home with you, we have, some additional episodes. And you can also find links to connect with Angelica and Eden Therapy Co. in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for being here. Can't wait for the next time.
Yes. Thank you, Chrissy. And thank you all listeners.
Thank you for listening to the Old School Food Freedom Podcast. For over 20 years, Finding Balance has been helping people walk in freedom by discovering where Jesus fits into their struggles with food and body image. If you want more biblical truth and encouragement, head on over to FINDINGbalance.com and subscribe to our free daily vitamin devotional. While you're there, explore our Christ-centered Lasting Freedom online course and small group tools. You can help keep this ministry going by donating today at FINDINGbalance.com. See you next time. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, or prescribe a particular course of action. If you have or suspect you may have an eating disorder, please consult your healthcare provider. If you desire to receive faith-based care, visit ChristianTreatmentFinder.com to browse professionals with a Kingdom campaign against eating disorders.